All right, good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi tout le monde. Welcome to today's webinar, which is a municipal update on COVID-19 by the three municipalities of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview as we prepare to head into summer. This webinar has been organized by the Chamber, but is presented on behalf of the Southeast Economic Recovery Task Force, which has been working these past months to plan for the region's economic return. My name is John Wishart, and I am CEO of the Greater Moncton Chamber. It's so nice to be hosting this webinar on the day that the long-awaited Atlantic bubble was finally announced. In case you haven't heard, we can begin to visit our neighbors starting July 3rd. Bonjour à tous, bienvenue à cette rencontre virtuelle présentée par la Chambre de commerce pour le Grand Moncton au nom du groupe de travail sur la relance économique du Sud-Est. Le thème d'aujourd'hui est COVID-19, une mise à jour municipale, et vous permettra d'entendre des représentants de municipalités de Moncton, Dieppe et Riverview. Mon nom est John Wishart, je suis le PDG de la Chambre de Grand Moncton. So we have 5 speakers with us today, and it's my pleasure to introduce them now. Representing the City of Moncton will be Isabelle Leblanc, the Director of Communications, and Kevin Siliker, the Director of Economic Development. Pour la ville de Dieppe, l'agent de communication et de la relation publique, Julie Herbert, et le Directeur général d'Expansion Dieppe, Louis Godbout, prendra la parole. And last but not least, we have Shane Thompson, who's the Director of Economic Development for the town of Riverview. So welcome to all of you, and thanks for agreeing to be part of today's webinar. The Economic Recovery Task Force felt that it was important to present a platform where our 3 municipalities could discuss what each of them have been doing so far for business and the community at large during the pandemic, and also to give each of you some time to discuss what we should look forward to during the summer months as we emerge from this situation. After the presentation, we will have time for a Q&A. Everyone's microphones have been muted for the presentation part of the webinar, but you can pose a question at any time during the presentations by using the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Okay, so let's get to the first presentation. I'd like to welcome Isabelle Leblanc from the City of Moncton. Isabelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone. We're really happy to be here. We always love to collaborate with the 3 communities in the Chamber, so this is a great opportunity for us to speak to all of you a little bit about what we've done and how far we've come over the past 3 months. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of the municipal side, what we've done as a city administration and a city council, and talk a little bit about the organizations, the community-focused things that we've done as well. And then Kevin will certainly take on some of the business side of things and some of the programs that we've put out there. So just to take us back a little bit, back in March, when we found out that this pandemic was real, it wasn't just elsewhere, it was now in our province and in our community. We immediately wanted to take action, and we struck our Emergency Coordination Center. And that is the group of people led by our fire chief, Conrad Landry, who handled most crisis situations in the city. And we really felt that this was a crisis situation for us. So this is a specialized team that look after things like logistics and planning and operations and information. And it's a committee that's struck in order to make quick decisions, operational decisions, in order to protect the interest of our city. And we took this approach because we wanted our leadership team, led by our city manager, Marc Landry, and our council, to focus on other things. They needed to focus their attention on the city's finances. They need to focus their attention on what comes after and those types of things, and making sure that residents knew what was going on, felt secure, felt comfortable with the pandemic that was happening. So we took that responsibility a little bit off of their shoulders and put it on this Emergency Coordination Center's shoulders. And really, the mandate was quite easy. Manage the pandemic for our community, make sure that our residents and our entire community is safe to the best of our ability, make sure that we can provide support to either businesses or specific not interest groups, but certain populations, and also to make sure that we have the ability to recover as quickly as we possibly can from the pandemic and have people return to work, obviously in a safe and responsible manner. So that's been our main focus for the past 3 months. And we also wanted to make sure that we built close partnerships and collaborations. So we've got a great relationship with the other 2 communities, Dieppe and Riverview. We've got a great relationship with the Chamber. A lot of activities have been occurring. We've also maintained a strong relationship with Fredericton and St. John because there are a lot of similarities with the 3 large cities. So that coordination, collaboration, partnership has been really important throughout this whole process. So, people look at the city and they say, okay, well, things are running, you're providing services, but what did it really look like for us internally? So we have a little over 650 employees here at the City of Moncton, and we immediately said that we wanted to be one of the leaders. As soon as we were able to open our doors and welcome employees back on site, whether that be in the field or at City Hall or at the Operations Center or at our facilities, we wanted to be quick out of the gate and show the leadership and the confidence that we had. And we felt that that was important because we knew that businesses, retail, restaurants, attractions, those businesses would come after, and we wanted to set that tone that we were confident that we could open the doors and welcome people back in. So I guess the first thing back in March was for us to say who's essential and who's non-essential. What are the services that we need to continue to provide to our community throughout the pandemic, and which are some of the ones that we can perhaps step back from a little bit. So of course, like everybody else, we needed to learn to work from home, and that's something that municipal governments typically don't do. We like to be on site. So that was a challenge for us, like many businesses, I'm sure, is to allow for people to work from home. It's not the fact that they're home, it's to set them up from a technological standpoint. So there was a lot of work that was done over the span of a couple of weeks to make that happen. We also decided that we weren't going to cancel any council meetings. So we immediately turned to the virtual world in order to host our council meetings. And certainly, this is new to everybody, and there were certainly bumps along the way, but I think we've succeeded. We haven't missed a meeting, we haven't missed a beat. The public was able to get the information, to follow the meetings, and it's worked pretty well, although we all like to see each other face to face, of course, and that'll come. We also put in a lot of policies, processes, directives in place in order to ensure that our staff are well equipped with the proper equipment, that they are safe, that they are comfortable, and those are important things. For us to have our employees have confidence in our ability to give them a safe workplace was key. And we immediately wanted to make sure that they had all the information that they needed. And we put together an employee guide, and I think it's something like 80-some pages, and it has just about everything you can imagine in there. And that was important for us to build from the onset because, one, you never know when something like this could happen again. It might be a different scenario, but it could be a pandemic, could be something else. We would have that on hand. And also we wanted to build a guide that we could then possibly share with other communities. And really that's what we've done. We've had a lot of calls for people saying, we'd love to see what your employee guide looks like. We're starting to ramp up our business. We're starting to consider returning to work. Do you have anything that could give us a guide? So again, taking on that leadership position of being one of the first organizations out of the gate, we knew that we could build something that would be helpful to the community as they also started to ramp up. And throughout managing the day-to-day, we also had to look far down the road. And early on, probably beginning of April, we already had started our return to work plan because we knew it was going to come. And we divided that up into 3 phases. We are now into our 2nd phase. We have probably close to 80% of our staff working on site. And the next phase will come in the next few weeks. So we've built that confidence. We've ensured that City Hall, the Operations Center, wherever you see municipal employees, that we have the proper signage, that we have everything in place in order to deliver the services that we are required to deliver. Of course, all of this, you have to follow the public health rules, and that's been a challenge, I think, for most communities and most organizations, because we always dreaded those Friday afternoon press conferences because we never knew what was going to be announced. And we had a few surprises here and there, but it's really a test for us to be very nimble and flexible and quick to adapt, because what was announced on a Friday afternoon, the expectation from the public was that it was implemented right away. So, okay, pools can be open. Well, we started getting calls from the community probably half an hour after that announcement was made. Clearly, the pools were not going to open that day. So we really had to be forward-thinking and proactive in our communications. So internally, it went really well. Again, we're entering our phase 3 very shortly, and we've surveyed our staff to see how they felt, and it's been very, very positive throughout. Externally, we quickly closed all of our facilities like everybody else, but we did stick to maintaining our trails. We wanted to keep our trails and our parks open, and we felt that was really, really important for the community, for their mental health. Everybody needed a place to exercise, and you know, there were a lot of people pushing back saying you should close, and we really dug our heels and felt that it was important, and we're really happy that we did. That was certainly something positive for the community. Externally, again, I guess we wanted to reach out to different groups. We offered some reprieve to residents, whether it be through not collecting interest on water bills or offering free parking and other measures. We wanted to give them something early on, and that was quite positive as well. Kevin will talk about the business side, but so those are all important things to make sure that we build confidence with our residents, and in order for us to be able to, I guess, get through this together as a community. So I was talking about some of the examples of having to be nimble and quick. So when we one of the major topics for us were the infamous playgrounds, like it was, I'm sure, in Dieppe and Riverview. I see Judy smiling, so that means it was the same thing there. So our playgrounds were a big thing. People, come April, beginning of June, people were getting impatient. They were home, kids needed an outlet, there was nowhere for them to go. So we had heard through the rumblings that playground restrictions were going to be lifted on a particular Friday. And so we really wanted to be proactive. So that morning, very early, we started switching up signage at our 53 playground structures, thinking, because it's the information we had received, that the restrictions would be lifted that day. So here we are. We're really happy to finally be able to tell the community that they'll be able to play, to find out at I don't know, 3:30 in the afternoon that yes, they can open, but they need to be sanitized twice a day. We have 53 playground structures in our community. So suffice it to say, we weren't equipped for that part of the announcement. So very quickly, we switched over the signage again. We're quite discouraged because we really wanted to offer that to our residents, but had to adapt and kind of go back to the drawing board and strategize, what can we do, what can we offer? So these past 3 months have been like that most of the time. You kind of step forward, then you kind of go, whoops, we can't do that. What's public health saying? What are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? Can we get clarification? I know with Dieppe and Riverview, we talked a lot about trying to get clarification from the province. They're doing the best that they can, but we need more, because people, when a decision is made or an announcement is made, people look to their municipal government, whether it's a business or whether it's a resident, because we are so close. A lot of the decisions that were made or not made are not based out of the municipality. They are requirements or rules that were given to us by the province. So it's been a very interesting time, I guess, for our city. Now we look towards the summer. What's going to happen now? Well, John mentioned it. It's a great announcement to know that we'll have the Atlantic bubble, which leads me into tourism. So the province has has put a strategy together, of course, for staycations, and we really wanted to follow their lead and follow what they're saying. We want to be ready so that when, at first it was New Brunswickers coming to the area, but now it's Atlantic Canadians coming to the area. We want to make sure that our attractions are ready to go, that we can offer all that we can, despite not having festivals and concerts and shows. And we still can't do that. But everything else, we want to make sure that we're ready, that we can present our region very positively, that we can be welcoming, that our hotels are hopefully they're opening or on the verge of or have opened, our restaurants. So we just wanted to be ready. So that's a little bit of tourism right now, where we're at. Canada Day is going to be virtual this year. That's going to be a bit of a different switch. We're not going to have fireworks. We know that's a negative point for some, but we need to be able to avoid a lot of congregating. So that was a decision that was made. All of our zoo has been open for a few weeks, and they're up to about 1,000 visitors a day is what they'll let in. Resurgo Place is open. Our sports fields are open. We've worked with the community groups and associations in order to get them ramped up. We've approved over 50 operational plans from different groups, and they're really eager to get going. Everybody wants a bit of normalcy is what we're finding. So all in all, that's where we're at from a municipal standpoint. I'm sure Kevin will have much more detail from the business front, but from municipality, it's been a good experience, a testing experience, but Monctonians have done very well and have listened to the rules and are following the best that they can. Just one last point, Kodak Transpo, as of next week, Monday, everybody must wear a mask. That was an essential service for us. We needed to make sure that the frontline workers could get to and from work during the past 3 months. We went down to 6 passengers per bus and unfortunately had to leave a lot of people on the side of the street because we couldn't accommodate them. So as of the 29th, masks are mandatory, and the number of passengers will go between 17 and 21. It's not ideal, but hopefully the more people will respect the wearing of the masks, then we'll be able to increase service levels, and that'll be another positive step as we head into summer. C'est tout.
Thank you, Isabel. That was great. We'll now continue with the City of Moncton and welcome Kevin Siliker. Kevin?
Thank you, John. Merci. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And I just want to recognize the great work that the Chamber of Commerce has been doing through this COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you to John and the whole team at the Chamber of Commerce. From a business point of view, this whole situation has been very complex. And when you have action-oriented people and you're asking them to, go home, and it feels like you're kind of being removed from the game somewhat. That's a really disorienting feeling for individuals that, again, are action-oriented and want to be part of solutions. So it takes a little while to change that thought process, that removing yourself from the place of work and participating in the social distancing is actually your contribution. But our team quickly transitioned into the work from home environment and really went about reestablishing those relationships with our clients and our customers who we had been working with. Wanted to make sure and check in with them to get updates on projects, to see if there could be areas of support and how the city could help make the situation better for them. So one thing that we did do is certainly check in with a lot of our major development projects, which were underway. And this pandemic, of course, hit during one of our busiest planning periods of any year, that March, April, May period, when so many of our building permits are in late stages for review or submission. And so we certainly felt that it was very, very important to make sure that City Hall, our services remained accessible from a building permit or development review perspective. So we actually continue to maintain all of those services working in a home-based environment. and moved into a WebEx or Zoom platforms where necessary to keep those channels of communication open, to be able to review projects with our colleagues, but also review projects with proponents. So we're really pleased that we've been able to move projects along in our development pipeline. Isabel mentioned our council meetings continued, but there was good innovation on the development side. Our planning advisory committee also continued to meet in a digital environment. So we were able to continue to approve projects and move those forward in our development pipeline. I would like to speak about the partnerships. We were part of a group in the Southeast that did initiate the Southeast Economic Recovery Task Force, and there have been tremendous partnerships locally with Dieppe and Riverview, with the Chamber of Commerce, with 3Plus, and many others in the economic development ecosystem. There's been excellent collaboration and really good innovation that you can see coming out of some of the webinars or the information that's being provided, and a reduction or a consolidation, I should say, of information as well. We try to make it as simple as possible so that businesses didn't have to go to multiple sites. Isabel referenced some of the business initiatives. Waiving downtown patio fees was something that council thought was important. So typically, as businesses, downtown restaurants and cafes open up their downtown patios, there typically is a fee in a regular year. Those were waived this year. We had a period in the April month where parking in the downtown was free of charge. Again, we recognize that there were some essential workers still working in our downtown, and we thought whatever we could do from a relief perspective, if there were costs that we could relieve or defer, we were trying to do our best to come up with solutions, whether it was the patio fees or downtown parking. But certainly there's a sentiment with our business. They're clearly in a very challenging period to achieve and get back to a sense of normalcy or a period of normal revenues. And a lot of businesses are impacted in a significant way, especially small and medium-sized business where they're serving the local market. And we took a special interest in that group. And certainly the other sentiment that we were hearing is that reopening downtown was really key for a psychological and emotional boost for the community. And Isabel talked about the leadership that the city of Moncton took in having city workers return to the work environment as quickly as possible. We also paid special attention to working with our downtown businesses, checking in with them on return to work plans, and then on the restaurants or the cafes and some of our other properties, checking in to understand how we could best support them. And through some brainstorming and some collaboration with partners such as Downtown Moncton Centre-Ville Inc. and its membership, a concept was birthed for making some changes to downtown, specifically Main Street, to create a one-way Main Street for the summer months with a bi-directional bike lane, which would allow some of the patios to spill out a little bit more broadly into the street, or expand some of the downtown cafes and patios, either in an east-west or north-south configuration. Again, something that wouldn't be allowed in a typical year because of our bylaws. So we wanted to provide as much flexibility as possible for downtown businesses. The other element I want to talk about is immigration. And I also oversee immigration for the city of Moncton. And that's been a very successful area for population growth and talent growth, talent attraction in our community. That's been a big pipeline of workforce development in our community. And of course, when borders are shut down, that impacts the flow of people and the flow of talent into our community. But also, we have a lot of newcomers who are also already here, who had just arrived, perhaps in the weeks or months leading up to COVID-19. Those individuals were still in a process of integration into our community. They were still in a process of settlement. Some of them had not acquired employment yet. And so we have been working with partners such as Magma and CAFE and others around our local immigration partnership table to support those newcomers in our community to make sure that they didn't fall through the cracks during this time of need. And as well, special care was paid to our international students, again, who were here for post-secondary studies, but were left kind of without their traditional supports as educational facilities closed and they couldn't have access to their classmates or professors and teachers like they usually would. So we struck close partnerships with our post-secondary institutions and had weekly calls all on our newcomers, generally speaking, but also specifically to international students. So there's been a lot happening, a lot to juggle from a business perspective. And I would say that if you are in a position of influence to encourage your employer or be in a position of decision making to encourage more people to return to the work environment in a safe way, please consider that. And certainly a lot of small and medium-sized enterprise rely on that foot traffic, whether it's in the downtown or more broadly throughout the community. That's really key for our local business, and certainly we recognize the challenge that local business is going through at this time and want to support local business as best as possible with a successful return to our respective work environments. So thanks again to the Chamber for hosting us, and thank you for your wonderful partnership, and happy to be part of this forum. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin. That wraps up the City of Moncton portion of the webinar. We'll now move on to Ville de Dieppe. J'inviterai maintenant Julie Albert de la Ville de Dieppe. Julie.
Merci beaucoup, John. Merci aussi à la Chambre de commerce de nous accueillir cet après-midi. Donc, si vous me permettez, je vais juste partager mon écran. J'ai une petite présentation que j'aimerais vous présenter. Donc, encore une fois, merci de nous accueillir cet après-midi. Ça me fait très, très plaisir de me joindre à vous pour parler de ce qui se passe à Dieppe depuis les derniers mois, donc depuis le début de la pandémie, mais aussi, ou plus particulièrement, ce qui s'en vient pour la période estivale. Donc, je voulais vous donner un peu d'espoir en ce bel après-midi ensoleillé. Donc, je pense que vous le savez déjà, on le répète beaucoup depuis le début de la pandémie. Pour nous, c'est important de suivre de très près les directives de la santé publique. Donc, c'est ce qu'on fait depuis les tout débuts et c'est ce qu'on continue de faire. Puis, de concert avec ces directives-là, on procède présentement à la réouverture graduelle de nos installations municipales. Ça fait quelques semaines déjà qu'on a commencé, puis le travail se continue. Donc, jusqu'à présent, notre parc à chiens, notre parc de disc golf, nos parcs communautaires, c'est toutes des installations qui sont maintenant ouvertes et prêtes à accueillir le public. Puis, ça continue. Il y en a d'autres qui vont ouvrir la semaine prochaine et ainsi de suite. On a d'ailleurs approuvé plus d'une vingtaine de plans opérationnels d'organismes communautaires, donc pour leur permettre justement de reprendre leurs activités, puis tout ça au sein de la municipalité dans nos installations. Et ce travail-là se continue aussi. Donc, je pense que c'est important de le dire qu'on a appris beaucoup de choses suite à la première vague, si vous voulez, de la COVID-19. Et on est vraiment confiant comme équipe qu'on est prêt pour une seconde vague si cela devait se produire. 50% des employés sont maintenant de retour à l'hôtel de ville, mais tous les employés sont maintenant équipés pour travailler à distance. Donc, si jamais une seconde vague devait survenir, les employés de l'hôtel de ville vont être capables d'offrir les services essentiels à partir de la maison. Puis, notre équipe de gestion des mesures d'urgence continue de se rencontrer sur une base régulière, de prendre le pouls de la situation, d'évaluer différents scénarios, puis tout ça. Donc, de ce côté-là aussi, les choses avancent bien, puis ça continue de bien se développer. Je pense que c'est important aussi de mentionner notre plus gros projet à l'histoire de la municipalité de l'Uniplex. Donc, la construction continue, puis la construction n'a pas pris de retard. Donc, pas de retard dans le temps, pas de dépassement de budget, rien de ça malgré la COVID. Donc, on est fiers que ce travail-là continue de bien avancer. Puis, Louis va vous parler du côté économique tantôt, mais moi, je voulais vous parler un peu plus du côté socio-économique cet après-midi, puis de notre programmation estivale aussi qui va avoir un air tout nouveau cet été. Ça va être assez différent. Mais je tiens à vous parler aussi du groupe Les Loisirs Branchés, qui est un groupe Facebook qu'on a lancé au tout début de la pandémie. Donc, ça a été une des premières choses que notre secteur des loisirs a fait justement pour permettre à la communauté de se retrouver, puis de partager des ressources pour pouvoir se divertir pendant la période de confinement, puis même pendant la période de distanciation physique. C'est un endroit où est-ce qu'on y tient des activités virtuelles, des concours, on y partage même des idées intéressantes qui nous viennent même d'organismes externes. Donc, on le voit ici à l'écran, découvrir le monde fascinant des papillons. Donc, une activité qui a été très populaire. Donc, c'est vraiment une petite communauté de gens qui peuvent se retrouver puis se divertir malgré la pandémie. Puis c'était notre façon aussi de rester en contact, mais plus positif, d'avoir d'autres choses que juste les nouvelles tout le temps reliées à la COVID. Donc, pour mettre un peu de joie et un peu de bonheur dans le quotidien de tout le monde. Puis, nos activités estivales vont se poursuivre. C'est sûr que ça va être assez différent. Par exemple, le mercredi chaud qui existe, ça fait déjà plus de 30 ans, va quand même être de retour cette année, mais sous un tout nouveau format. Donc, mercredi chaud sur le patio ou Wednesday show on the patio. Donc, on va vraiment être invité dans l'univers intime de nos artistes. Puis, nos animateurs Kevin McIntyre, Georges Béliveau vont vraiment nous donner quelque chose pour nous divertir. Ça va être assez intéressant. Donc, on est très fiers de pouvoir offrir ça au public cet été. Puis, nos autres activités vont continuer de se dérouler aussi de façon virtuelle. Donc, que ce soit la fête du Canada, la fête du Nouveau-Brunswick, les festivités du 15 août, on va être au rendez-vous, mais à distance, évidemment. Donc, c'est ça, en terminant, j'aimerais vous dire, vous inviter à rester à l'affût, rester branchés avec nous, donc de nous suivre, continuer de nous suivre sur nos médias sociaux, de visiter notre site web régulièrement, aussi de vous abonner à notre infolette. C'est là qu'on va dévoiler au fur et à mesure les détails de toutes les activités estivales, au fur et à mesure qui sont connues. Puis c'est aussi là, si jamais il y avait une deuxième vague ou des nouvelles directives, c'est à ces endroits-là qu'on communique avec nos résidents, avec les entreprises, le public. Donc, on a une bonne banque de ressources aussi par rapport à la COVID sur notre site web. Donc, on vous invite vraiment à vous tenir à jour puis à rester à l'affût de ce côté-là. Puis, en terminant, comme on se le dit, ça va bien aller. Donc, merci beaucoup pour l'opportunité cet après-midi.
Merci, Julie. Continuons avec la présentation de Dieppe avec Louis Godbout de Expansion Dieppe. Louis.
Merci beaucoup, John. Thank you very much. Donc, je souhaite la bienvenue à tous nos partenaires régionaux qui participent à ceci, de même que tous les participants et participantes. So, thank you for this opportunity to present a little post-confinement optimism for our business community. Looking forward, especially with the Atlantic bubble that just opened up, which is actually great news for all of the Southeast region with this great weather, of course. Donc, mes collègues de Moncton ont fait un excellent travail de présenter le passé, comment ça s'est passé chez eux. C'était pas énormément différent à l'intérieur des murs de l'hôtel de ville ici à Dieppe. Donc, on va concentrer sur notre focus sur qu'est-ce qui s'en vient dans le futur pour nous autres. Donc, avec le COVID-19, on vit évidemment une transition entre le monde d'avant et celui de demain. Therefore, we must all work together to get our economy back into high gear. So that's why we've been a strategic partner with the Southeast Economic Recovery Task Force. Donc, je remercie aussi tous les collègues de la région qui ont participé à ça avec la Chambre de commerce, 3+, nos partenaires à Riverview et à Moncton. Donc, dans cet objectif, nous, on était aussi un partenaire stratégique dans cette cellule de relance économique du Sud-Est. Donc, c'est ce qu'on tente de se concentrer dessus à ce moment ici pour les prochains mois. Donc, afin de comprendre un petit peu ça, on va juste prendre 2 minutes pour expliquer qui est Expansion Dieppe, parce qu'on a une structure ici de développement économique qui est un peu différente à ce qu'il y a normalement dans les autres municipalités au Nouveau-Brunswick. Alors, comme vous le voyez sur les slides, on est le partenaire pour le développement des affaires à Dieppe. Expansion Dieppe is your partner for business development in Dieppe. So given that our structure is slightly different than the other communities, we'll just take a couple of minutes to explain what we do and who we are. Alors, nous sommes à la disposition de tous les gens qui choisissent Dieppe pour un endroit afin de démarrer leur entreprise, soit faire croître leur entreprise ou bien investir dans notre communauté. So, notre équipe, nos experts sont là pour vous aider. We offer all of our services free of charge to assist your business development and expansion in any way we can. Now, during these tough times, given that communication and working together as a region is very important, we've launched our brand new website in last April, right in the middle of the confinement period of COVID-19. And we've done that because we had the opportunity of using this great new tool to be able to communicate with the community and offer our services through our website. So on the website, you'll find all the services we offer to our business people, the land available for all types of development that is for sale either by us or also by the private sector. So it helps save a little bit of time. On montre les terrains qu'on a à la disponibilité de développement dans les 3 zones d'affaires dans lesquelles on se concentre sur le territoire. Donc, soit au centre-ville, soit dans le parc industriel ou soit dans la zone commerciale autour de centre commercial CF Champlain et cette zone commerciale. On fait aussi la promotion d'espaces commerciaux en location, donc tous nos partenaires économiques du secteur privé qui ont d'espace à louer, on peut tout trouver ça sur notre site web. So by visiting on our website, you can see the listings of all that's available in terms of commercial space. Là, je vais essayer de pousser la présentation un peu plus dans le sens de la confiance des investisseurs dans notre environnement économique. Donc, sur les prochaines assiettes, vous allez voir défiler soit des diapositives qui vont démontrer les zones dans lesquelles il y a du développement qui est en train de se produire dans notre communauté et des images de projets dont la construction s'est poursuivie ou même a été entamée en plein cœur de la pandémie. So we're going to show you pictures just to get the morale up of our business community of what's happened during the pandemic and what's continuing to happen. So we have a lot of mixed-use projects, multi-res buildings that have started up and are under construction and started up right in the middle of the pandemic. Some of these are on la rue Champlain, chemin Gauvin, la rue Alain-Gillette, la rue Lafayette ou ailleurs dans notre communauté. On a vu aussi des expansions des agrandissements commerciaux qui ont passé dans les photos. So these photos depict the confidence of the investors in our community and in the economic environment despite COVID-19. So for us, this is quite motivating in all the senses that we can have. When you have them putting their money into investment in these challenging times, it's really a vote of confidence for our community. Other services that we offer will direct you to the appropriate persons within City Hall for all municipal related services. So, Expansion Dieppe ne s'occupe pas de permis ou de règlements d'appliquer ces choses-là, mais on vous dirigera afin de vous assister pour tenir l'information générale, les permis, les licences, les règlements, les incitatifs financiers ou tout un élément requis pour mener votre projet à terme. En parlant d'incitatifs financiers à l'écran, vous avez vu passer la zone qui est traitée dans les incitatifs financiers au centre-ville. Et ces incitatifs financiers, comme vous voyez, il y en a pour la superficie ou la densité de l'édifice et il y a aussi pour les stationnements intérieurs dans l'édifice. Donc, pas pour le stationnement extérieur, mais sur les stationnements intérieurs dans l'édifice. Les initiatives lors du COVID-19 afin de soutenir la réouverture des entreprises. So we've launched a couple of initiatives to help businesses after confinement reopen so that entrepreneurs could speak between themselves of the challenge they lived. So la première chose qu'on a faite, c'est qu'on a lancé un forum de discussion virtuelle entre entrepreneurs le 1er juin qui s'appelait Parlons d'affaires, où, comme vous voyez, M. Abud, pharmacien ici à Dieppe, qui a vécu la période de COVID avec son entreprise ouverte à tous les jours, a pu nous partager ses expériences et comment ils ont résolu certains défis. Donc, it was a discussion directly between entrepreneurs that they were able to share their challenges and what solutions they saw during this period. So we had that in French and then in English with Let's Talk Business that was virtually held both on June 1st. We're now looking at, on top of other initiatives that we're seeing that is posted on our website, so les initiatives qu'on est en train de regarder, c'est pour complémenter qu'est-ce qui s'offre tout de suite. Donc, sur notre site web, évidemment, on indique tout ce qui est proposé. On dirige directement au site web qui a été préparé par la cellule de crise régionale, qui est la Chambre de commerce, est généreusement en train d'héberger pour toute la région. Et en plus de tous les liens vers le gouvernement. So, on top of what the Chamber has put together as a regional website for sources of information, we are also directing to other levels of government, as that site is doing. We are also looking at launching another virtual meeting place for our entrepreneurs so that they can share between themselves. Donc, stay tuned. Un regroupement virtuel pour entrepreneurs, on est en train de travailler dessus afin qu'ils puissent communiquer entre eux et rester à l'égard. Immigration, yes, COVID-19 has not stopped us from launching the City of Dieppe immigration strategy, which is specifically aligned and complements the regional immigration strategy. Alors, le COVID-19 ne nous a pas empêchés. On a fait le dévoilement de la stratégie d'immigration la semaine dernière. Vous avez été peut-être témoin de cet événement que nous, on appelle hybride, car il y avait les intervenants principaux étaient tout en personne et quelques-uns virtuels, puis de tout était diffusé en direct, live sur le web. En parlant de diffusion live sur le web et en regardant vers le futur, ben, on veut aussi commencer à souligner puis remonter le moral de nos entreprises. Alors, pour la 18e édition de notre banquet, on a décidé de lancer un événement virtuel. Donc, ça va être présenté demain soir à 19h en ligne. C'est un live show with performances by professional artists, and we will have also live interaction with all the finalists of the awards. So the links to be able to access it are supplied via registration on Eventbrite or on Expansion Dieppe's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Donc, pour nous, comme il est important de souligner nos entreprises méritantes et de célébrer leur accomplissement, on va donner un message, on va tenter de donner un message d'espoir à nos entreprises et toute la communauté d'affaires de Dieppe tout en se divertissant. So also with this event, we're also promoting our local economy. As all donations received at registration, because registration is free, but we offered that if some participant wanted to give out a donation, we would return all of those donations in form of gift cards to our local businesses, and that would be drawn amongst all the registered participants to the event. Alors, sur cette note plutôt stimulante, créative, je vous remercie de votre attention. Ça va bien aller. Alors, again, thanks you to the Chamber, to the regional partners for collaboration and hosting this webinar. And I hope that has been useful information for all the community.
Thank you very much. Merci, Louis. Really looking forward to the virtual banquet tomorrow night.
So are we.
Okay. So we'll now round out our presentation portion of today's webinar with Shane Thompson from the town of Riverview. Shane, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, John. I guess I'll echo my colleagues' comments about our appreciation for you organizing this this forum and all you've done throughout this this crisis for the community. The Chamber of Commerce has really stepped up, so thanks for that. As a municipality, and I'll just again echo some of the things that Isabel said, obviously it was a challenge as a municipality to operate in a virtual environment. But, you know, various departments were creative in approaching that, and we as well wanted to show some leadership to the community, and we are 100% back to work, all staff back to work in all facilities since May. So it's been very well managed by a team of our health and safety team to create operational plans for all the facilities here at Town Hall. All staff are temperature checked upon entering the building. The hallways are all lined with bright orange tape to make sure everybody's keeping the appropriate social distancing and following all provincial guidelines. With the recent phase, the pool and splash pad have reopened, again following the appropriate public health guidelines. As well, again, dog parks and things like that. The only thing that we did close, not expecting to be able to travel anytime soon, was our visitor information center. So that remains closed. We may look at, reopening as this bubble is opening in July. In terms of business, again, it was a challenge for our business community, who are predominantly small or very small businesses, primarily in the retail, restaurant, service sector. And so they've really had to show some resilience. And again, our relationship with the business community is often a more direct face-to-face one. And so this presented a lot of challenges, but we did all we could, using the Chamber's website, the information listed on that website, to push out as much information as we could to keep the business community as informed as we could throughout. So I know that a number have taken advantage of some of the federal programs for rent relief and whatnot. So hopefully there's some value in that. Our development projects, we were again, as Louis mentioned, we were really heartened to see that there was still some confidence in the community to continue to invest, and take out building permits, and construction projects started. We're looking at right now, our building permits are higher than they were at this time last year, and we almost had a record year last year. So we're really encouraged by that. We're seeing more development projects come in every day. Our own capital projects are all proceeding, all the road work, the most significant of which is the Bridgedale Boulevard project, which is running east to west from Gunningsville Boulevard to Runnymede Road, to the entrance at Mill Creek Park, which is also open, Mill Creek Park. Again, the other encouraging piece is the parks and public spaces reopening. And as I said, we are following all the guidelines for that. But I'm just trying to say what I wanted to say here was the pools and splash pad, which I mentioned, are open. But we've had a recent issue here in Riverview that may require the splash pads at least to close, and I just wanted to highlight that. So we're challenged right now with our water supply system, and it's partly as a result of the kind of drought conditions we've had, but the supply is still strong. I think the reservoir is still strong, but we have some sort of an issue in town where it's a combination of residents using water probably more than they typically would, being home and whatnot, in the summer being here now. But we probably have a major water leak somewhere in town that hasn't been identified. And so our water consumption at the moment is double what it typically would be and every day. And our engineering department is really challenged by locating where the problem is, but we're really asking our residents. So if we have Riverview residents on the call here today, just like to say to try to conserve your water and only use it for essential purposes only. So that was just the PSA that I was supposed to provide. And I'll just in the interest of time, because I know we want to take questions, I just want to also say that while our visitor information center closed, and now that businesses are opening again, and particularly restaurants are able to open again, we're happy to announce that at the back deck of the Chocolate River Station on Friday, the Holy Whale Beer Garden will open, and we're staking our claim as being the largest, safest licensed patio in New Brunswick. So I'd encourage you all to come check it out this summer. And I'll actually leave it at that, John. I tried to be as brief as possible in the interest of time.
Thanks very much, Shane. As I said, I'm looking forward to the Expansion Dieppe Gala. I'm also looking forward to the Holy Whale Beer Garden, so can't wait. It's now time for the Q&A section of the webinar, so please click on the chat button if you'd like to pose a question. C'est maintenant le temps pour les questions et réponses. Veuillez cliquer sur le bouton chat si vous souhaitez poser une question. I had a couple of questions that were actually submitted by chamber members ahead of the webinar, so I'm going to start with those while we wait for the chat to fill up. One involves, of course, the changes to Main Street in Moncton. And Kevin or Isabel, I'm not sure who wants to take this one. I know it's super early. The work was really only done yesterday. What kind of feedback or response are you hearing from Main Street merchants and business owners?
I'll take that for Moncton. Well, yes, it is very early at this stage. There certainly was a lot of dialogue leading up to it. And in general, the feedback was that businesses were looking for support. But secondly, businesses in the community were looking for something new or unique, something of an attraction in the downtown. And they were looking for some innovation this year as well, especially in this situation with the COVID pandemic, that if ever there was a year to try something new in the downtown, this was the year to do it, where traffic is lower, pedestrian traffic right now is slower as well. So this was a good year to experiment with some possibilities and some interesting concepts that had been discussed before in the community. So at this point, we've initiated this pilot. It will be in place until the end of September. We will be collecting data at different intervals throughout this pilot as well. And so actual data based on vehicle traffic patterns and the usage of the bicycle lanes as well. And we've already begun to reach out to some of the businesses and schedule kind of follow-up meetings because that is something that we had committed to. And we think that keeping that channel of communication is open and receiving that feedback throughout the pilot is very, very key. So we're early days as of yet, but certainly in the weeks and months to come, we'll be getting more data, but also more feedback from our stakeholders.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Une question pour le ville de Dieppe. I know everyone's really excited about the Uniplex complex. Can you give us an update on, as the politicians like to say, on time and on budget, or?
Yes, I can definitely give an update. So yes, we're on time, we're on budget. The pandemic didn't affect the work, so yes, on time, on budget so far.
Great. So late fall opening, I believe?
Oh yeah, fall of 2020, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Shane, in your presentation, you made reference to building permits, and I'm just curious if all three communities can give an, have you done a bit of a forecast on where you might see permits by the end of the year? I know, Shane, you said you're ahead of last year. What about Moncton and Dieppe?
You want to go, Kevin?
No, you go ahead, Louis.
So in our case, John, we had a record year last year, so it's a difficult comparable on that, and we also had the Uniplex in there at the beginning of the year. So if we're taking that and reflattening that in consideration of those elements, we're about at the same level. There's a lot of permits in the works. It kicked off really quickly at the beginning of the pandemic, and there was a lot of residential permits that were given out. So that was really, for us, quite motivating to see that come through in that level. In terms of the bigger commercial industrial projects, well, we've shown you some of the elements there. So the projects have continued to go through. In terms of the projects we have in the pipeline, there's probably somewhere between a quarter and a third that they've decided to push back for 6 months to a year. But the other projects are continuing. So that is really, for us, especially with everything that was happening with the banks and financing and the challenges that was creating, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, that was really, for us, a very strong vote of confidence.
From the city of Moncton's perspective, we have been in close contact with our developer community. I would say that our financial situation from the city of Moncton as a result of this broader COVID situation. Our expenses are up as a municipality. Of course, our revenues are down. From a financial planning perspective, we do have scenarios built in where there may be a decline of building permits of approximately 15%. So that is part of our situational planning around this pandemic. We are finding there are many projects which are continuing, and we're working through those in our development pipeline. However, there have been a couple of projects which are now beginning to slip. We are seeing more success on the housing side of things. But of course, with this pandemic and with so many workers now working from the home environment, I think it may impact the future of office and commercial space. And so it's created some uncertainty in that environment. And certainly from an investor perspective, that begins to impact potential projects. And then on the other sector being tourism or hospitality product, again, if you were investing in a hotel, this is a very unfortunate time to be in that investment stream. So hotel projects, which may have been in the works, look to be seeing some delays as well. So generally speaking, we're planning for approximately a 15% dip in building permits, but there's still some good projects going through. We ourselves are coming off of a record year from last year. There's lots of multi-res projects under construction at this time. But generally speaking, our builder and developer community are also identifying that access to capital and the financing is becoming more and more challenging in the current environment.
Okay. I'm going to try to squeeze in one final question before we close off. I see Kim Rayworth from the Capitol is on the call, and I know Kim and other event venue hosts are looking towards the summer and probably more the fall in terms of how do we accommodate gatherings of any sort. I'm just curious in terms of, we've got the Avenir Center, the Capitol, Dieppe has the Arts and Cultural Center, Riverview has the Riverview Arts Center. Are you hearing anything in terms of how we can gather for events, not virtually, in the months ahead?
Isabel, do you want to chime in?
Sure. Well, listen, I think we see the situation changing fairly quickly. I think we probably initially, for the longest time, thought that we would only be able to gather up to about 100 people by the end of September. And Lord and behold, last week we got the news that in certain instances we can gather more than that by trying to keep physical distancing, of course. So the situation evolves so quickly. I was listening to Kim Rayworth earlier this week, and they're working hard to make sure that they can put measures in place in order to accommodate. The Avenir Center, it's managed by a private entity, so I'm sure that they're looking at options and what they can do to potentially open at some point in time. We haven't, at least from my knowledge, and Kevin may know otherwise, but we haven't been aware of any specifics as it relates to event venues as of now. But things have a way of happening, and I'm sure that they're all very, very eager to open. The Capitol has been very innovative in presenting a concert last week that was a great, unique offering, and one that I hope they'll do again, because it's just great to be able to watch some concerts from home. It's a bit different. The Magic, there was an article today that said the Magic the league is looking at getting back into play in December. So each venue is a bit different. Will there be people inside the venues, or will it be a little bit different? We don't really know. But I'm sure that as the weeks progress, and we're at the beginning of summer, so we do have a little bit of time, but things can evolve quickly and accelerate quickly, as we have seen in the past week or week and a half.
Thanks, Isabel. Would Dieppe or Riverview like to chime in at all, or?
I mean, I know our Parks Department is, their raison d'etre is events, and so everything that they've been doing is trying to be innovative in the face of not being able to gather. I'm sure they're they're rubbing their hands together as we speak to think about how they could possibly plan, like concerts in the park, for example, is something with a large park. You could probably allow for social distancing and still have a live performance. But I know they were planning to do it virtually, but maybe now things are changing. I can't speak for the Riverview Art Center. I'm not sure. That's all I can say for now.
Louis?
Well, Julie is more knowledgeable of what's happening on that scene than I am.
I don't have details, unfortunately, for the Arts and Culture Center, but like Shane said, our Culture and Leisure Department is working really, really hard to find new ways to reach out to the population and to put some events together, and hopefully more good news will come in the coming weeks.
Demain soir, pour notre banquet, notre poste de contrôle pour le banquet virtuel, ça fait de la salle La Caserne au Centre des Arts.
Ah.
Yeah.
Très bien. Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. J'aimerais remercier Isabelle, Kevin, Louis, Julie et Shane pour leur participation aujourd'hui. We are all in this together still, and we're lucky to have great leadership at the municipal level to help us navigate these challenging times. Just a reminder that today's Zoom webinar has been recorded, and it will be available on our growing Zoom library on the Chamber and the Southeast Task Force Joint COVID-19 resource page at ccgm.ca. So, merci encore d'avoir participé aujourd'hui. Please stay safe, take care of yourselves, enjoy the sun, and bonne journée.